Welcome again, everyone. This is Dr. Erin Mayfield. I am founder and CEO of Lifestyle Medicine, Wellness and Recovery, LLC, where we help people lose weight naturally, feel younger and stronger, and hopefully get off some medications. I am thrilled to have Dr. Megan Melo here with me today. We are continuing on with our healthy whole food plant cooking classes. This is our series where we bring healthy and quick recipes to you that are easy to make in your kitchen. Dr. Melo is a physician, she's a coach, and she's a mom, and lives in Seattle, Washington. She has a coaching practice called Healthier for Good, where she focuses on helping women physicians with stress-related weight gain, overwhelm, and burnout. She offers online coaching and courses to help women achieve their goals. Her coaching certifications are extensive and include being a Certified Daring Way Facilitator based on the work of Dr. Brené Brown, a Certified Life and Wellness Weight Loss Coach through the Life Coach School, and she is also trained and board certified in obesity medicine. She had a traditional medical practice in family medicine with obstetrics and women's health for the previous 11 years. It's possible to set up a consult discovery call with Dr. Melo to explore her services and how she can help you. So she's going to share one of her delicious recipes with us today, and she'll talk about her practice and give us some health tips at the same time. So welcome, Dr. Melo. It's so great to see you.
So great to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share my kitchen and healthy recipe with your viewers.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, well, and I love to try all of these too. So I'm excited to learn new recipes.
Yes.
And it's so wonderful to see physician moms cooking because you are just a really busy person. You know, like all working women, there's limited time to cook, and there's especially sometimes a limited time to try to figure out healthy ways to cook for our families and things that kids will love. So we love your tips and we can't wait to see your recipe.
Yeah, perfect. So today we're going to be making some roasted vegetables with a lemon pecan gremalada. And that's just a fancy name for a topping that has some parsley and some lemon and pecans and Parmesan, and it's just delicious.
Oh,
and
yum.
turn any vegetable into a winner in the house. So I've got some sweet potatoes here that I've already cut up.
Oh,
and
lovely.
I'm going to go ahead and cut up a butternut squash as well. It's easy. I like cutting. I like chopping. I find it sort of meditative. And so for me, it's like kind of a go-to. But I know that sometimes not everyone's into that. And you can easily grab these vegetables pre-cut and just ready to go out of the bag and throw them on the pan. With the squash, I actually also tend to leave the skin on, and it gives us a little extra fiber. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. So get that all chopped up here. Squash always takes a little extra arm power here. So this is my workout for today.
That's true. Butternut squash is not easy to slice.
Not easy to cut, but it was such a relief when I found out that you don't have to peel them, because peeling them I think is even harder work than cutting them, but it's totally doable. So we're definitely going with a very orange vegetable grouping today, right? We've got the squash and then the sweet potatoes. But really this recipe is so nice. You can throw in any vegetables that you want to roast. Like I said, they can be pre-cut, and that just makes it easy, especially for busy parents. So get my squash guts out here. So we like to roast a lot of vegetables in our house, and I find that that is a really easy way to prepare them, because it doesn't take much hands-on time. You can just throw a pan in the oven. And the other thing is that it tends to bring out sweeter flavors. The vegetables get a little caramelized without any added sugar, and so it can be more appealing to kids. I can't say that works on both of my children, but it definitely works on one. So I'll take what I can get. But it's funny, I eat these vegetables fairly regularly now, but I don't think I actually had sweet potatoes until I was an adult. And I'm sad about that because they're so delicious.
Oh, aren't they wonderful? I love to bake them and just eat them with a spoon
Yeah.
or put them in smoothies. We always do the same thing. We either have sweet potatoes and or butternut squash cooked and in the fridge
Yeah.
for snacking, for smoothies. That's just great for smoothies, a banana, some butternut squash, and it makes a nice thick smoothie.
Good idea. I haven't tried that.
Yeah, it's good. Lots of fiber.
Lots of fiber, lots of vitamins. The other thing I love about having roasted vegetables on hand, like you can make a whole bunch, you can make several pans at one time, and then just keep them in the fridge to throw them into other things, right? Then you're
Nice.
not having to like go and make the vegetables again every single time you want to put more vegetables into your food. So, all right, cut up here, and I've got my oven preheated to 400. So with these vegetables, because they're really dense, they're gonna cook for about 30 minutes probably. And then for the last 5 minutes or so, I'll increase the heat, and that gives just a little bit more of that caramelization.
How interesting.
More of the sweetness.
Mm-hmm. How thick are your slices?
Yeah, let's see. So
We talking half an inch or 3/4 of
for
an
the
inch?
sweet potatoes, I like big sort of chunks. So these are probably, I'd say, 1.5 inches. And then for the butternut squash, I've quartered the squash.
Oh,
This is
nice.
a really small one. And then, cut, they're maybe 1.5 inches long, maybe 3/4 of an inch thick.
Okay. So they're really about the same size.
Yeah. And my husband tends to dice things up smaller, and that's fine. I just find it less work.
Right.
But really, it's just adjusting the cooking time. They'll cook. How long do we want them to cook? Yeah, I love having roasted squash. My kids are not as into it. They like the sweet potatoes better, which makes sense because they are sweeter. But the squash has lots of vitamins and fiber in it too, so good to incorporate. All right, I'm gonna clean up my sticky hands here. So, and then for this, I'm gonna toss the vegetables with some olive oil. It's probably about a tablespoon each one. I just kind of free pour it. If I'm just roasting vegetables to have as a side dish, then I'd usually toss them with some salt and pepper as well. But the topping that we're gonna make is so flavorful, we don't actually need any extra salt and pepper here. So I'm just gonna skip it. So I tossed a little olive oil in there, and I'm just gonna kind of mix the vegetables around. I've got these, big baking sheets here.
Oh, beautiful.
They are well used in my house. Rainbow carrots is another vegetable I love to roast. They're so colorful, and our Trader Joe's always has those in stock. But who doesn't love a purple carrot? They're just beautiful.
Oh, they're beautiful. Yeah. It's just fun.
Yeah. And then broccoli is another vegetable that I love to roast. I never really liked broccoli growing up. We always had it steamed. I grew up in the 90s when everybody was afraid of using any fat in the cooking. And I couldn't get into steamed broccoli, but roasted broccoli.
That's just it, isn't it? Well, steamed broccoli, when it gets soggy, it's just not that appealing.
Yeah, it's either a little too crunchy or a little too soggy. Okay, so I throw those in the oven. So again, it's at 400. And I'm gonna go ahead and set a timer for 30 minutes. I don't usually stir them in the middle. You could, it kind of depends on what vegetables you're using, but.
So you find that it works out well to just throw them in there and set your timer.
Just throw them in there. I'll take a peek.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
That's my kind of cooking.
Yeah. And you're smelling how things are cooking when they're roasting.
Yeah, that's right.
It brings out all of those delicious flavors and smells. And so If I smell like it's going a little too fast, then, I'll know it.
No, yeah, you know.
So I'm going to start to get things ready for the Gremalada topping. And so the first thing I do, I have about 3/4 of a cup of whole pecans here. And you can really use any nut, but pecans is what's in the recipe. And I'm going to just throw them into a skillet on my stove, and I'm just going to toast them a little bit. Sometimes I'll toast nuts in the oven. Sometimes I'll toast them in the pan. Just kind of depends. But I've got my oven turned up pretty high right now, so I don't want to burn the nuts. So we'll just kind of let those heat up gently over medium heat. And again, I'll be able to smell when they are just right. Okay. I'll let that go for a little while.
Are you using your laptop for this class?
Yes. Yeah.
Is it possible to turn the camera down maybe a little bit so we can see this cooking area?
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay.
Pan full of beautiful pecans. I've got my food processor over there.
Okay, great.
That's ready.
Okay.
My chopping station. My kitchen did not know it was going to have a cooking demonstration when it was set up. So
I know, but we all ad-lib it,
Yes, we make it work.
Well, I took the Harvard chef coaching class and got a certification through them. Yeah. But what was most interesting to me was how easy they made it for us. And they do their cooking classes with an iPad and an iPhone.
Oh, interesting.
They've got the iPad set up so that it's focused on the stove, on the cooking area. Yeah. And then they set up the iPhone on a different stand so that it faces you and you sign into Zoom twice and people can see both of them. So it's very low tech. Yeah. The Harvard people are low tech too. We
Academics also get freaked out by tech. That's what I hear in that.
No, we're good.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So again, I'm going to be just kind of, smelling them to know when they're done. It really only takes a few minutes there, but when we toast, we just get more flavor out of the nuts. Yeah. And I love pecans. So that's what we're going to be doing. But yeah, just sort of, thinking about, families and how women are challenged, when we are working and often still responsible for, taking care of healthy meals. Yeah. It's something that we as physicians often don't get enough training in helping to kind of support our patients through. And in the traditional healthcare system, I often found that I would love to talk to moms about how to get more, fruits and vegetables into their kids' diets and, help them, make healthier choices. But I didn't always have the time to spend with people. And so it's so wonderful that we have lifestyle medicine, that we have coaching, that we have these other avenues to be able to help support families.
Yes, and take our time doing it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's really fun to have the ability to sit and talk to you and share ideas and tips and cooking and things that women need to know to feed their families. So I'd love to hear at some point how you became interested in getting trained and getting your certification in obesity medicine.
Yeah, it was one of the areas that I've always been interested. I've always been interested in helping to support people in general, but my practice was primarily women. How do we support women being able to take better care of themselves? And, for so many women, obesity and overweight is a consequence of what many people call human giver syndrome. It's this idea that we are constantly serving other people. We grow up serving, people in our family and being people pleasers. Yes. And we continue that. We continue that even as professionals in our careers, and certainly when we become moms, right?
Yes.
And to some extent that's needed, right? Of course, when you've got a tiny infant, they are completely dependent on you.
That's right.
If you're breastfeeding. But eventually we need to start transitioning them into being able to take care of themselves.
Yes.
And that's bumpy for many of us, and we struggle. And I find that so many women turn to stress eating. Just gonna take a sniff here. Yeah, those are starting to smell toasty. I'm just gonna give them another minute here. But we turn to stress eating as a, socially acceptable way to sort of manage the difficulty in our emotions, to manage, kind of not getting our needs met
Yes.
by other people, because we're so busy serving others.
Mhm.
And, I was aware of that kind of all throughout my training and my practice and how I wanted to show up for people. But in family medicine, in the traditional sort of, 15, 20-minute visit sort of model, there really wasn't room to effectively really help women. And I certainly didn't have the coaching tools that I really needed to help them be empowered to make changes. So initially, I thought obesity medicine would be the pathway to give me those coaching tools. And it did give me a lot of knowledge, but really adding the coaching certification later was how I could actually start working with women, not just to give them knowledge about their
Right.
bodies and their weight, but to help them make changes that
Yes.
would effectively stop them from constantly stress eating, stop them from overeating, and help them achieve their weight
Mhm.
goals.
Yeah. I know it's a slow process.
Yeah.
And I know personally, and it's taken years, but
Yeah.
it's certainly oh my gosh, it's been a tremendous help for me to switch to whole plant foods and get away from the salt,
Yeah.
and the fat and the sugar. And then your taste buds start to change. And that happens pretty quickly. And then you do taste all of these wonderful flavors. The butternut squash in itself is delicious. The sweet potatoes are really sweet, but you got to get away from that refined sugar to
Exactly.
enjoy all of these other flavors
Yeah.
that we've been blessed with all of the produce that we have available to us. I mean,
Yeah.
year round, we have gorgeous produce.
Yeah.
So it's a great blessing.
I know. I think back to when I was a kid and we had red apples and we had green apples.
That's right.
Right.
And only at certain times of the
needed.
year.
Right. Not all year, not all the time.
That's
but
right.
But man, we have, I go to the grocery store and now I've got 15 different, flavors of apples, and how marvelous. But, if I'm used to grabbing the Oreos and the Snickers bars and the cookies and the, all those things, I can't really fully appreciate, the sweetness and the complexity of flavors that are there in all these different varieties. So,
yes,
right, we do wake up. We do wake up our taste buds when we start eating a healthier.
We do. We can just get rid of the artificial stuff.
Yeah.
And that was never satisfying for me. You can eat half a bag of Oreos, but when you're done, your brain is saying, oh, you feel crummy, but you really need to go back and eat some regular food.
Right.
You got to go back and eat some fruit or have something healthy or have your vegetables. So it never does the trick.
Yeah.
It just never does the trick.
Yeah. It's like, we're choosing to eat that way to get a hit of goodness, right? We get a dopamine hit from that. We get a reward signal from it. And, when we're going through our day and we're not stopping to enjoy non-food pleasures, then we just constantly seek that dopamine hit from food.
Mhm.
But you're right, it doesn't satisfy our body's need for actual nutrition, right?
That's right.
Vitamins and fiber and protein and all those essential nutrients. So we wind up more hungry, we wind up more dissatisfied. And of course, we're often beating ourselves up about it in the process.
Yeah, that really drives the cycle too, doesn't it?
Right.
And you feel bad, and then you have shame, and then it just starts all over again the next day.
Yeah.
So your practice just sounds lovely and so liberating for women who are under so much pressure in their careers every day.
Yeah. And I think people discount the pressures on women, and including professional women. I can think of, when I go to see my doctor, who's a woman, I'm thinking about how amazing she is. And I know that she has a son and, a family and a life. And I don't spend a lot of time thinking, how does she make all of that happen? Like, what are her stresses? And I think that's normal, but so many women physicians really struggle with that perfectionism and that human giver syndrome, where we feel we're just constantly serving other people's needs and ignoring our own. And so in my coaching practice, I'm able to help women physicians really tune back into themselves.
Good.
And stop feeling that that's wrong, acknowledge that they have needs and that that's normal.
And that is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's so greatly needed.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get up in the morning and you're running helter skelter and your mind is just going a million miles an hour. And that happens for 16 hours. And then you crash, and then your brain is going a million miles an hour going, oh my gosh, I've got all these things to do tomorrow. And I've got these kids to take care of and these appointments. And then it's just like, and then crash again. And it really takes a lot of effort and a knowledgeable and kind person like you to just have the ability to take some time with a woman and say, okay, let's step back and take a breath. Let's just take a couple minutes and reflect.
Absolutely.
So that's just wonderful.
Yeah. And it's the space that we often don't give ourselves and we don't get in the world, the space to be human, the space to admit our struggles.
Yes.
A lot of physicians who struggle with their weight feel tremendous shame about it because we feel like we ought to know better. We ought to be able to use the information we have in order to help ourselves. Let's see, you're frozen here. I'll give it a minute here. Okay, well. So while we wait for the connection to come back, I've got 2 cloves of garlic here. And I'm just going to be removing that sticky papery skin. Wait for Dr. Mayfield to rejoin us here. I don't like buying the pre-peeled garlic. I don't really like dealing with the paper, so pick a lane. All right, so I've got 2 little cloves of garlic there that I have tossed in.
Hey, everyone. We just had a quick break because my power went out, but we're back and fully functional. And so Dr. Melo is starting to take the veggies out of the oven. So let's go back to Dr. Melo.
All right. And what I'm going to do, so everything is soft right now. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to increase the heat to 425 and change my timer. I'm going to put it on for 4 or 5 more minutes. And that, like I said, will just get sort of some extra flavor into those veggies.
Nice.
Now we're going to come over. I'm going to turn this just a little bit here. And we're going to make the Gremalada, which sounds
yum
easier than it is. So I'm a food processor. And I have 2 cloves of garlic in there. If you don't like raw garlic at all, you could certainly skip it or do less, but we're okay with that in our house. So
Uh-huh.
And got here some pre-shredded Parmesan, and recipe calls for a 1/4 cup, but I went with a 1/2 cup because my kids will eat stuff with cheese on it. So that's what we're doing.
That helps.
Yeah. And then I've got a nice bunch of curly green parsley. I'm gonna give this a quick rinse here.
Oh, yum. That must smell wonderful.
Yeah. And I'm gonna do a very scientific, precise move here, where right over the food processor, I'm just gonna give it a twist.
Uh-huh.
And there's all the nice leaves and a little bit of stem, and here's the rest of the stem, which I can just throw away. So no knife.
Beautiful. It's quick. That's it. Wash it, throw it in there. Yeah.
It's funny, you know, my husband does a lot of baking, and in baking, you need to be very precise with your amounts. It, you know, chemically, it makes a difference. With this kind of cooking, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If it calls for half of a bunch of parsley and I don't have anything else I need the parsley for, a whole bunch is just fine.
Good. That's fun.
Flavor, more greens. And then here I have a lemon. I have two actually because they're a little bit small, and I have a microplane zester, and I'm just going to go ahead and zest the lemon right in there, and then we'll get some juice out in a little bit too. So the Gremalada is very simple. I think it's an Italian-based topping, but traditionally there's some nuts, there's some dried cheese like Parmesan, lemon. You can throw a little olive oil in there if you need a little bit more wetness, but we're going to use lemon juice, so that's going to give just a really nice flavor. And then
I bet that smells good too.
Toasted pecans, yeah. I can smell the veggies. It all smells really good.
You'll have to take a taste before your family comes home.
Exactly. Well, and so, you know, I'm in Seattle, so it's afternoon for me, but like we discussed, this is going to be dinner tonight. And the nice thing about this, for my husband and I, we'll probably just eat it as is. For my kids, I'm going to make a little bit of pasta, or sometimes we do spelt. We get the 10-minute sort of par-cooked spelt from Trader Joe's, which is really easy. And then we're just going to toss the vegetables and toss the Gremalada with that.
Oh, yum.
So
fantastic.
Easy. So I've cut my lemon. I'm just going to squeeze it right in there. I really like lemon because I'm someone who likes salty flavor. And to me, like the brightness of the lemon gives me that same sort of hit as salt. So if you're trying to cut down on salt, lemon is a great cheating trick.
Oh, I love it too. We just had lemons in season in December. And so we were picking them off the tree, and I juice them and then freeze the juice. So my freezer is full of fresh lemon juice, and it's so wonderful to pull it out and cook with it now.
That sounds amazing. I've never lived in a place where we could pick lemons off a tree, but that sounds awesome.
Oh, it is fun. It feels very luxurious.
Yes. Yes, here in Washington, we grow a lot of fruit, although mostly it's over in Eastern Washington on the other side of the mountains, apples and cherries and things. So, but we usually get a lot of berries at my house. So,
oh, that's fantastic too.
Yeah. I love having a little kitchen garden. We always do tomatoes and some berries and a little bit of herbs. And it's just so nice to go out and pick fresh tomatoes and put them in your dinner.
Oh, yes.
One of my kids is really oddly into herbs too. So he'll go out and pick basil leaves and eat them. And
good for him.
nasturtium leaves, which are really peppery, he'll go out and eat them. And it's funny, but he loves it. So, oh, there's my timer. Okay, it's down here. So let's take a peek here. Let's get a big plume of steam. I'm going to pull the squash up. The sweet potatoes, I'm going to let go a little bit longer to get a little bit more color, but the squash is beautiful. I don't know if you can see.
Beautiful.
We've got a little bit of the caramelized dark edges, and the skin's a little bit blistery, which I like. That is all good. And I'm gonna hold off on juicing the lemon until I taste the gremolata and see
Okay.
if the flavors balance. But I got those nice toasted pecans here.
Mm.
I'm gonna throw this in. And I'm gonna put you on mute for a minute because I am gonna run my food processor and it's gonna be loud. So
Okay.
I'll subject everybody to that sound. Right back.
Okay. So I thought I'd just mention, I don't know if y'all know it, but not only is it National Nutrition Month, but it is National Cancer Prevention Month. And what we know from decades of research is that eating our fresh fruits and vegetables, especially those with lots of color, help prevent the growth of cancer cells. And so the more we eat, the better off we are. And what's staggering is that we know that up to 40% of cancers are unnecessary. And that's just, that just blows my mind to think that we could have 40% fewer cancers in our loved ones and friends just by getting away from the processed foods and concentrating on whole plant foods.
Yeah, it's easier than people think. And again, I think when we're so used to all those processed foods and high salt levels and high sugar levels, we just think we can't possibly enjoy the flavor of vegetables and fruits so much. But we really can, and we can use all these wonderful flavors like lemon and nuts and olive oil to really just bring out even extra flavor. I'm gonna dip a fork in here and see. I'm gonna go with a little bit more lemon juice, but it's got such a nice flavor. The Parmesan gets some saltiness, and then with the nuts, you've got a little bit of a toasted flavor, but also just that rich, kind of a little bit fatty taste that's so wonderful. This would be great with walnuts or almonds too, or pine nuts. Pine nuts would take it a little bit more expensive.
They'd be delicious too.
They'd be delicious. It's not quite as mixed up as you would normally do like a pesto, which is a lot of the same ingredients, usually not with lemon. So it's kind of chunky, but you could take it as smooth or as coarse as you like it with the food processor here. So, all right, we'll give that another try here. So I'm gonna put you on mute again for just a moment so I don't blow anybody's eardrums.
Okay. Well, that was fast.
Yeah, and with this, you're just kind of pulsing it. You're not like going for a long time.
Really?
Right,
Don't you love food processors?
I do. Perfect.
Fantastic.
Perfect. So let's see if I can show this. So
it's beautiful.
got, kind of a chunky texture here. But it's got that nice green, and the nuts are kind of finely chopped, and the Parmesan. So it's just wonderful. And what we're gonna do is, let me scoop up some of the veggies. Let me pull out the sweet potatoes. This kitchen doesn't have one of the steam hoods on the top, the way it's set up, and so the oven gets a lot of moisture. It's just the way it is. We just roll with it, but there's always a big plume of steam when I open, especially with the veggies. Okay. So then all we really need to do is scoop up some veggies, and then we're gonna toss it with a little bit of gremolata.
Oh, yum. Well, I think you're going to motivate all of us to run into our kitchens and roast some vegetables and make some remoulade.
Oh, it is just delicious. And so let's see.
That is just gorgeous.
There you go.
That is just beautiful.
Yeah.
What a delightful meal.
Yeah. And like I said, you can just change it up kind of however you like. So when I went to the store, I wasn't quite sure what was going to be looking good because, of course, with COVID, we've had all kinds of weird shortages of things. And
That's right.
sometimes there's no tomatoes and sometimes there's no lettuce or whatever it is. So then I can just wander around and figure out, okay, what are my good roasting veggies? I know that sweet potatoes and squash are great. I know that broccoli is great roasted. You
Yeah.
could do carrots, parsnips, anything that you want to throw on a platter. Just really easy. And then, like I said, this can make a great side dish. You could toss it with pasta or some grains. If
Yeah, that's right.
eats meat, you could, have it alongside meat or your other protein. There's just so many ways that you could change it up.
Uh-huh.
And it's just such a tasteful thing. I'm going to take a little bite.
Okay, yeah. You have to tell us.
Yeah.
I think we can taste it along with you.
Mm.
It's got to be wonderful.
Mm. It's so good. I just love the way that these particular vegetables roast up. So you can see here on this one side, we've got just this nice brown color, and it's just so nice and sweet. And then you've got the bright, parsley and lemon with the Gremalada.
So you go ahead and you eat your squash skin after you roast it.
I do.
That's excellent.
Here that kind of blisters a little bit. And a lot of people have only seen butternut squash peeled, but the skin is perfectly edible, and that's true of most of those hard winter squashes. Sometimes when they're real bumpy and sort of crusty, maybe I'll trim a little bit of those
the bumps.
those things off. Although they're perfectly safe to eat, it's just kind of a rougher texture in your mouth. That's all. So
it's just a personal preference, isn't it?
Yeah. But so this is just such an easy meal, and you can see like the work of it was chopping up the vegetables, but you don't even have to do that if you want to buy them pre-bagged.
That's right.
With a little bit of olive oil and roast them until they're done. Use your eyes and your nose to tell that. And then we've got this really flavorful topping to throw on top.
Oh, yeah.
Just all those flavors together. Aside from the Parmesan in the Gremalada, everything is plant-based. Everything is very, kind of natural state and just delicious.
Yes. Nice and fresh. Well, that's a fabulous recipe. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we could do this today.
Oh, thank you. Do you want to share a little bit more about your coaching practice, how you help and work with women in your practice?
Yeah. So again, healthierforgood.com is my website, and so people can find me there. I work primarily with women physicians, but I also work with non-women and non-physician professionals in my coaching practice, trying to help work on mindset and choosing to give up sort of human giver syndrome, give up these ideas that our existence is really just to serve other humans, and start to feel better, start to get unstuck from burnout and overwhelm. And I also work with women physicians on weight loss and again, coming at it from that perspective of helping to reduce stress and overwhelm and use the tools and information I have from, the obesity medicine training, as well as the coaching certification, to find an evidence-based and effective way to stop the stress eating, to start really sort of tuning into your body, eating healthfully, eating for nutrition and not just for boredom or stress release or distraction, like we saw do.
And it's so easy to fall into that.
Yeah. And so in the last few weeks, I've put together an online course, which is sort of specific for women physicians, as well as women who serve others, women who are caregivers of any kind, including parents. And in that course, I go through again, kind of the principles of healthy eating and also the coaching tools to help us get out of these stress-related eating patterns that we so easily fall into.
Wow.
Unlike alcohol, when alcohol becomes a problem for people, we can't completely give up eating.
That's right.
Right.
We have to figure out how to manage it.
Got to figure out how to manage it. We need to have a healthier eating approach, let go of the stress eating. And, in the meantime, we get to learn how to better manage our stress and to find a natural way of eating that allows us to naturally drop the extra weight.
Yeah. Well, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
I know women and men must love working with you. So that's lovely. So everybody look up Dr. Melo. And she's also on Instagram. She's got her website. Are you on Facebook too?
I am on Facebook as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
And I've got my business page is Healthier for Good, PLLC on Facebook.
Okay, fantastic. So we'll look it up and we'll subscribe. And thank you so much again. It's just been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been such a wonderful afternoon. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And I apologize for the power outage. What a surprise.
You're apologizing for something that you have no control over.
That was
We as
true.
women, we have to stop doing that.
Okay. Thank you so much.